Okay guys, you're in a nutshell with me, Ina. Dahil raw sa marami ang nangangambang mawala ng status, many are apparently being advised to try kung kaya nilang makakuha ng approval for to stay rather based on the grounds of humanitarian, mali ang pagsabi ko, to try if they can apply for what is called humanitarian and compassionate grounds na application o makaka-extend ka ng stay. I think that gets you a permanent residency, no? Tama ba? Yeah, I'm seeing, yeah, no? But guys, please be reminded, i-check nyo mabuti kung qualified kayo dyan for HNC. Okay? Hindi po simpleng application yan. Yan ang ating pag-uusapan kasama ang ating suki, immigration lawyer, Lou Jansen Dangsalan. Ang kanyang email, ayan, gagapang sa baba. If you want to get in touch with him, ayan, shoot him an email. Okay. I actually said, hi Lou, thank you again. Ayan.
Of course, my pleasure.
Okay, I will jump off from this. Yeah, sinend ko to kay Lou, no? Meron pong nag-send sa ating, nag-post sa ating comment section. Bakit daw pwede mag-request ng topic regarding humanitarian and compassionate program? Marami po ang mga students at TFW na hindi nag-renew ng work permit ang nag-a-apply raw ng HNC kahit hindi naman sila qualified. Yung mga totoo or qualified sa HNC, natabunan na daw yung mga application. Ano ba yan? Okay, thank you so much. Walang name mo, no, dito sa iyong account. So, Lou, I mean, I'm not surprised with this. Siguro out of talagang, they are exhausting every possible, way, ano ba? Para makastay sila dito. Iniisip siguro ng ilan, nakailang taon naman na ako dito, baka pwede na ako mag-grant ako ng HNC. Have you seen this happen also, and especially recently?
Actually, simulan natin sa isang anecdote. Ako ay isang manlalakbay sa kalawakan ng Facebook. At nakikita natin yung mga Facebook groups ng mga ating kababayan, ng mga bago sa Canada. Meron mga iba doon, success story, family of 5, andito po kami sa British Columbia. Tapos nag-apply po kami as student, tapos dahil wala po talaga kami makuhang pathway, nag-apply kami ng humanitarian, etc. etc. Hindi natin alam yung buong storya nila, pero yun nga, ang sabi ng former student, na-approve ang kanilang HNC. Very happy for them. Pero ingat po tayo dito kasi depende po kasi ito sa pitik ng officer dahil ang humanitarian and compassionate grounds application ay napaka-discretionary. Ibig sabihin, depende po talaga sa gising ng officer kung bibigyan kayo ng permanent residence under HNC. Pero sa kabilang banda, meron din naman talaga tayong sinusundan na legal test na basically ibinaba na at pinataw nga ng Supreme Court of Canada. Dahil hanggang sa Supreme Court, ililitigate po itong issue na to. So, unahin natin, yung mga international students, dapat ba pumunta sila dito? Ang unang sagot ko dyan as reflex, ingat po tayo, mag-isip-isip po tayo, at by default, hindi po. Dapat po
by default, okay.
By default, wag po ito ang uunahin natin. Kasi meron na pong ibang mga nagkonsulta sa akin, attorney, matapos na ako ng studies, tapos wala po talaga akong makitang pathway. Totoo niyan, hindi pa sila nagre-research, di ba? Tapos, narinig ko tong pinsan ko or sabi ni Tita Maria or ni Tita Tess, baka pwedeng humanitarian na lang kasi ganito yung ginawa ng kanyang pinsan na nag-caregiver sa Canada, di ba? So, mga kwentong katitahan. Diba? Wala naman masama doon, pero isipin natin yung implikasyon kasi kapag pinasok natin itong I guess itong rabbit hole na to ng batas, maiiwan tayo sa disposition nga talaga ng officer kung meron naman tayong ibang programa na pwede pampasukan. Bakit hindi unahin yun? Diba? Yun yung unang reflex dapat. Pero hindi rin natin sinasabi huwag i-consider ever ang humanitarian and compassionate grounds. Siguro, one last point before kay Paso ulit sa'yo is, ano ba kasi itong HNC application? Ina. So, ang pinaka-baseline definition nito is dahil napaka-sikip at kitid ng batas pagdating sa kung sino man yung bibigyan ng permanent residence sa Canada, Itong Parliament of Canada, minabuti nila nung dinisenyo nila yung Immigration and Refugee Protection Act na maglagay ng isang section, yung Section 25 nga ng ERPA, na inaalaw ang officer na mag-grant ng permanent residence sa isang applicant in extenuating circumstances.
Okay. What
So,
are
syempre,
these? Oo,
yun nga, kailangan merited, diba? So, kadalasan iniisip ng mga tao kapag agency, kailangan na meron kang establishment sa Canada. Kagaya nga na sinabi mo kanina, diba? Ang tagal ko na dito, diba? Isa lang po yun sa factors. Hindi po yun yung silver bullet. Actually, in truth, wala pong silver bullet. Wala pong magic formula ang humanitarian and compassionate grounds application. Una sa lahat, depende yan sa mood ng officer at very prone po sa errors ang mga decision. Pangalawa, medyo dated na rin po yung statistics na tinitignan ko kasi 2-3 years old na siya. Hindi pa ako nakakapag-request ng bagong ATIP. Pero nakita namin na nasa single digits ang approval rates ng HNC sa Vancouver office. Kasi ang HNC kasi kapag inside Canada, inire-refer ito for processing sa IRCC sa Vancouver. So, nung mga 2-3 years ago nga, ang success rate ay nasa single digits. Pero pag tinignan mo yung results sa Niagara, mataas. Ang explanation dito is, kasi sa Niagara, nasa final process na. Diba? Samantalang sa Vancouver, sila yung initial eligibility. Tapos doon sa Niagara, ito yung mga inadmissibility, nasa second stage na. So, depende talaga. Pero yun nga, sumototal nito is, kailangan ang isang officer na magde-decide on an HNC is talagang kailangan niyang i-assess yung ebidensya na nasa harap niya at based out of the evidence, according to the legal test, kailangan ma-meet nila yung criteria na sinet ng Supreme Court.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier, isang factor lang. Yung Nako, ito na naman yung audio ko yata. Meron na namang ano. Are you hearing me clearly?
I can hear you clearly. Medyo nagcha-choppy lang yung video, pero okay ka pa rin.
Oh my. Okay. You mentioned earlier, one factor lang yung sinasabing, established ka na dito, okay? Kilala ka na ng community mo, you contribute well, ganito, ganyan. What are the other factors that also need to be considered?
Well, other factors would be, apart from establishment, length of time, best interest of the child. Kaya nga sinasabi ng mga tao, pag may bata na involved, malaki talaga yung, yung chances for agencies. Not always, but it is true. But the best interest of the child is involved, talagang malaki talaga yung tulong dun sa analysis in the favor of the applicant. Kapag maipoprove mo, kasi tandaan natin, in an HNC application, in most immigration applications, but especially in an HNC application, nasa iyo ang burden of proof. Kasi kung may kiniklaim ka, kailangan patunayan mo. Ikaw ang kailangan maglatag ng ebidensya, ng argumento, kung bakit deserving ka ng permanent residence through this exceptional mechanism nga ng batas, di ba? At meron tayong lead case from the Supreme Court of Canada, yung Kantasamy versus Canada, na actually, nung lumabas itong decision na to, it was celebrated as kind of like the gift for immigration or agency applicants and for immigration lawyers then at the same time. According to Section 25, and actually yung nasa harap po ninyo ay isang council submissions po at makikita niyo po sa taas na kailan lang na i-submit sa immigration ito. Ito po yung outlines of an argument, or not an argument, but rather the legal basis for humanitarian and compassionate grounds. So, ito nga, sabi dito, when assessing whether an agency exemption is merited, officers should examine the totality of circumstances. So, yung totalidad, hindi pwedeng pachi-pachi lang. Kaya kailangan yung ebidensya nyo kompleto. This manner of analysis is explained by Justice Elliott. He contextualizes this analysis through the equitable nature and purpose of an agency exemption. Kasi yung equity kasi sa batas, ito po yung konsensya ng gobyerno. Kung titignan niyo sa theory of the law in Canada, this is the conscience of the king or the conscience of the crown. Kasi dahil napakahigpit ng batas, kailangan po may magpapalambot yung konsensya po. Kumbaga, ito po yung Solomonic wisdom ng batas. Diba? So,
Lu,
Mhm.
dito rin ba nakalagay yung shinare mo sa akin kanina, yung that would stress or would explain why you keep on saying earlier na depende ito talaga doon sa um, officer na mag-a-assess ng iyong application. Nandito ba naka-mention yung parang emotional, dapat mag-sympathize yung officer dun sa applicant?
Absolutely. So yun nga, 'di ba? Kino-contextualize nga na kailangan ito yung magbibigay ng equitable relief, 'di ba? Kung babasahin natin yung susunod na parte nito, according dito, yun nga, kino-quote yung decision na sinabi ko kanina si Kanta sa amin nga, 'di ba? H&C considerations refer to those facts established by evidence which would excite in a reasonable person in a civilized community a desire to relieve the misfortunes of another. So doon pa lang sa phrasing, 'di ba? Sa phraseology dito ng sentence, kitang-kita natin na kailangan hikayat mo. And yung subtext dito is emotional. Mahikayat mo yung tao, yung reasonable person, na tulungan ka sa iyong mga problema, 'di ba? Ito to nga yung that the misfortunes warrant the granting of special relief from the effect of the Immigration Act. Tapos kung titignan nyo yung last paragraph nitong pahina na to, applying compassion requires an empathetic approach. So the word itself, di ba? Ito galing to sa case law, galing sa Federal Court of Canada. So kung empathetic, the emotion ito, di ba? This approach is achieved by the decision maker stepping into the shoes of an applicant and asking the question, quote, how would I feel if I were her or him? In coming to the answer, the decision maker's heart as well as analytical mind. So, mind and heart, diba? Body and soul, mind and heart must be engaged.
Yan. Kapag itong last sentence na binasa mo, no, it really shows you how, again, highly dependent on it sa personality din in a way, no, nung assessing officer. Kasi some people are not as empathic, or nagsisympathize as others, right? So, oo, no, talagang pwedeng mag-iba-iba rin ang condition. Now, balikan ko pala, Luno, earlier you mentioned yung best interest of the child. I know kapag pinag-usapan yung H&C, madalas din sabihin na kapag meron kang anak na pinanganak sa Canada, yan, Canadian citizen yung anak, mataas daw ang chance na mag-grant ng H&C because you have to care for your Canadian citizen child. However, it's not always the case. Merong ibang na-refuse din kung gumagamit sila ng tinatawag na mga anchor babies.
Correct. I was gonna say anchor babies yung popular term dito sa, it's not the most politically correct terminology, pero yun nga yung ginagamit sa popular culture. It's true. Hindi ibig sabihin na may anak ka sa Canada ay malakas ang H&C ties. Ang H&C case ninyo automatically kapag nag-apply kayo nito. Kailangan mapakita nyo pa rin na established kayo kasi ganito yung test niyan. Titignan pa rin ng officer na, teka, kung halimbawa itong si Jane nanganak sa Canada, yung anak niya nasa Canada, Canadian citizen, kapag pinaalis ba sila mag-ina ng Canada, mawawalan ba ng kinabukasan yung bata? Not necessarily, 'di ba? Kasi kung umuwi naman sa halimbawa sa Pilipinas si Jane kasama kanyang anak, unang titingnan diyan ng officer, ano ba ang citizenship ng bata? Automatic bang Canadian lang siya, wala nang ibang citizenship? Kasi kung wala siyang ibang citizenship, endured family separation 'yan, 'di ba? Kasi parang paano siya pupunta sa ibang bansa, 'di ba? Pangalawang punto, kung Filipino citizen naman yung nanganak sa Canada, alam naman natin na ang prinsipyo ng Pilipinas is may blood. So yung anak niya na kahit na pinanganak sa Canada ay bukod sa Canadian ay Filipino citizen din, 'di ba? Re-register lang sa konsulado. So sa ganitong scenario, iisipin ng officer, pwede siyang umuwi kasama ng nanay. Pangatlong punto, pagdating sa Pilipinas, maghihikahos ba silang mag-ina? Nako, wala naman silang binigay na ebidensya na magsasuffer sila sa Philippines. In fact, the argument is culturally mas mas embedded itong si Jane sa Pilipinas, may support network siya. Nakita ko dun sa family form information form niya. Ando na magulang niya. Established naman sila, maayos yung kanilang profesyon. Doon din naman siya dati tumira. Hindi din naman masasabi na hindi na siya doon titira ulit, 'di ba? So ibig sabihin, hindi naman may iwan sa bangketa yung mag-ina. So maybe the best interest of the child actually lies in the Philippines. So pwedeng ganun kasi yung analysis at pitik ng officer.
Okay, next question. Yung mga vulnerable workers, ayan, naka-experience ng pang-a-abuse, di ba? I know, dapat doon sila sa vulnerable open work permit. But, let's say, nasa vulnerable open work permit na sila, hindi sila nakahanap ng permanent employer kasi 1 year lang ang VOWP, no? Can they try for agency on the... May ganun baka kasi nga, naghahanap ng paraan. Anong sasabihin mo sa mga ganun ng baka kino-consider gawin?
That's a good question. I mean, it's really a case-per-case basis. Just because you're on a VOWP does not mean that you will get agency. Bigyan kita ng example. Isang hypothetical scenario. 3 taon ka na nagtatrabaho sa Canada, nasa pangalawang work permit ka na closed with the same employer. Sa 3rd year mo, inabuso ka. Nakakuha ka ng VOWP, great. So 4 years ka na in Canada. Tandaan natin, ang VOWP only binibigay sa'yo is 1 year. Diba? So, yun yung in that 1 year, you're basically expected to find a way to find yourself in a more permanent situation or another work permit. In other words, hanap ka na employer na mag-LMIA ulit at mag-sponsor ng iyong work permit. So, apply ka dapat ng work permit before the VOWP expired. Diba? So, in that particular scenario, ilang taon ka na sa Canada? 4 na taon, diba? Nakabank ka. So, may establishment na ba yan? It depends. Halimbawa, sabihin natin itong si Jane ulit. May anak ka, nanganak sa Canada, established. Nandito yung kanyang support network ka. Nandito rin pala ang isang kapatid niya. Tapos silang dalawa na lang magkapatid ang natira dahil na pala sila, orphaned na pala sila. Dahil sabihin natin yung magulang ni Jane, parehong wala na, pumanaw na. So, ibig sabihin silang magkapatid na lang. At ang tatay ng anak ni Jane, wala. Diba? So, halimbawa, inabandon sila. So, in that particular scenario, kung established sila dito sa Canada, tapos yung kapatid niya na permanent resident na tumutulong sa kanila, pwedeng may case na mas established sila dito. And in the best interest of the child, pwedeng sabihin na, mas meron silang kapit dito at mas may establishment. At ang factors nito, nagtitilt towards staying in Canada because kapag pinadala mo sila sa Philippines, separated na naman siya from the rest of the family na natitira, di ba? And actually, the argument could be made nga na actually pwedeng in this particular scenario na pwedeng magkaroon ng harm dahil itong bata, halimbawa, sabihin natin 3 years old na tas attached dun sa kanyang tito or tita, di ba? So paano yun? Di ba? So may biok analysis na papasok. Tapos kapag ka nasa Pilipinas, magre-remit pa, tapos maliit yung kikitain sa Pilipinas, etc. Pero tandaan natin, hindi pwedeng replacement program for your finances ang agency. Hindi ito ang purpose nito.
Alright. Ay nako. Alam mo, what's clear to me also, Lou, is if you apply for an agency, it is best if magaling yung pagdetalye mo kung bakit ka dapat pagbigyan in this for this specific application. And I say this, no, kasi si Lou, may pinakita sa akin kanina, no, yung isang example ng tinulungan nila for an HNC application. Alam niyo naman, I'm sure, merong maaring mga consultant dyan na nagbibigay ng, siguro, hindi tamang advice. No, sige, try na rin natin ang HNC. Nandito ka na eh. Alam mo yun, kahit alam nilang na baka mahina ang chance. Pero guys, think about it if you are being offered that. Because again, it's not a simple application. Kung iniisip nyo na magpa-paragraph form lang siguro kasi sila dyan, Lou, na why they deserve to stay, I don't think that would be enough, right? Can you show us, Lou,
sure,
kung gaano ka detalyado halimbawa yung ginawa ninyo, no?
Without going into the secret sauce, siguro i-caveat ko rin lang to na, wait, nagsishow na ba? Ayan. Ay, kakaveat ko rin lang to na one thing to think about when doing this is tignan din natin yung anong tawag dito, yung kapasidad ng yung immigration professional, whether it's a consultant or a lawyer. Kasi this is such a, how shall I put this? This is such a nuanced and a particular area of immigration law. Actually, when you're doing an agency, you need to also be prepared that you will lose and then you will litigate. Talagang dapat yung vision ninyo, yung field of vision ninyo, tsaka yung horizon ninyo, lampas pa dun sa nakikita ninyo na IRCC lang. Dapat ang iniisip ninyong labanan, hindi lang IRCC na may labanan pa to sa federal court, halimbawa. So, ibig sabihin, dapat yung isasubmit ninyo, gaya nga ng sinabi mo kanina, Ina, is kompleto. And on top of that, dapat detalyado. Kasi yung sinabi ko nga kanina, di ba? Like in most applications for immigration, the burden of proof is on the applicant, and most especially on humanitarian and compassionate grounds applications. So this example is from a case that we handled from 2022 actually. In-anonymize na lang namin ito. And yung storya niya dito is nag-apply sila ng agency, first chance, first try, with the preparation na pwedeng ma-refuse. Diba? Sabi ko nga, diba? Yan nga yung importante. Umakyat sila sa Federal Court of Canada in order to fight yung refusal. Nanalo sila sa Federal Court of Canada. In fact, it never got to a hearing. Nagsettle sila literally the day before the hearing. It got remitted back for redetermination. And at that point, they engaged us kasi yung former counsel nila, di naman super familiar with the particularities of the Philippines. So they wanted someone na familiar dun sa Philippine side of things as well, diba? So when I did this application, we did a full-blown submission. So best interest of the child, disproportionate hardship, for example. So ito yung parang outlines of the argument. I know this is not the full document. This is just the first 4 pages, which include the table of contents of this particular council submission. Kapag nakikita niyo yung council submission dito, up to 27, diba? Actually, up to page 32 yung original document nito. But the true extent and depth of this document was about 1,200 pages of evidence and supporting documents, pati research. Yeah. In fact, at some point, kilala mo ba si Leloy Claudio?
Yes, I know him, but I'm sure he does not know me. Pero kilala ko siya.
No, kasi kaklase ko siya dati. Kasi he does political economy, diba? So at some point, we wanted to do further analysis into the case. We get experts to weigh in, actually. Kasi nasa iyo yung burden eh. So as you can see from this outline, ito, principles. Ito yung mga basehan ng analysis. Tapos ito yung mga arguments naka-outline talaga.
Gusto ko yung arguments, Lou, up mo ng konti. Tingnan nyo guys, talagang pinapaliwanag nila. Yung 7 onwards, next page. Ito, Lou. Tingnan nyo guys, i-discuss nila yung medical condition ng parents, why the parents require care 24 hours a day, high cost ng parents' care, tas next, if continues to be, ayun, yung interest ng daughter. Again guys, table of contents lang to. You can imagine, when you go to the actual page, diba, nandun, isa-isa yan pinapaliwanag. And some, kinukuhaan pa nila ng supporting documentation sa Pilipinas, diba?
Yeah. So talagang super extensive siya in terms of like scope. Tapos pagdating din sa mga main points of arguments nga na kailangan namin i-prove na yung tinatawag in law yung but-for test na kapag hindi mo binigay, ito ang mangyayari. Actually, kung makikita mo dito sa isang parte dito, nakikita ba dito? Ito, 1B. Blank parents will die without continued financial support.
Grabe. Ganun talaga sa extreme nung sinabi nyo, no? Mamamatay yung parents.
Which is in this particular case, totoo naman siya talaga na kasi talagang parang nandun na lang talaga siya sa thread of support na kapag ka nawala ito, you do this, ito yung consequences ng hindi pagbigay ng agency. Diba? So, it was so compelling that in 2 months' time, actually, nagulat kami sa processing time nito na nag-revert with a positive decision. So, yeah, it was surprising, pero we were obviously very happy na nakuha nga ng client namin yung kanilang status in Canada kasi ang tagal niyang walang status in Canada actually. Tapos in the end, yun nga, all's well that ends well, I suppose. If you can put it that way. Pero yun nga, makikita ninyo from that outline pa lang na talagang nasa sa inyo ang burden of proof nito in order to actually convince the government kasi sobrang exceptional itong remedy na ito.
Yeah, I think dapat talaga, if ever, ito ang huli ninyong i-consider, right, Lou?
It is the option of last resort.
Yan, oo. Okay, last na lang, no, before we end this episode. What happens usually kapag na-deny halimbawa ang iyong HNC application? What follows? Ano ba ito? Uuwi ka ba? Paano ba?
Depends on itong situation na pinag-usapan siguro natin is yung pure agency application from inside Canada. And it has accordingly, it has its own forms. Pero kasi pwede ka kasi mag-request ng small or narrow agency exception. For example, if you were in the Philippines, you were sponsoring someone, tapos meron kang misrepresentation, halimbawa, hindi mo dineclare yung child, tapos nasa Philippines pa, hindi naman siya po-uuwiin, di ba? Pero nasa Philippines pa lang, tapos i-sponsor mo pa lang papunta ng Canada. Itong situation na pinag-usapan natin is ikaw mismo nag-a-apply ng agency for you and your family. So in that case, kung hindi ka binigyan ng agency, well, first of all, anong status mo nung nag-file ka? Di ba? Kung ikay temporary resident as a worker, it's not off the table for you to still look for an LMIA, to continue working, to continue seeking support for your work permit. In fact, it would look good on you kapag in status ka habang pinaprocess ang inyong LMIA because it shows good faith compliance with the law. And meron tayong nakikita mga examples of cases na ang IRCC officers, and these are erroneous or wrong decisions in my opinion, kasi the courts have also said that, na hindi mo pwedeng basta-bastang gamitin yung pagiging out of status nila as a justification for refusing. It depends on the pattern of behavior. Pero syempre kung kaya mo pang kontrolin, di ba, as much as possible, makikita yung good faith effort, di ba, na good citizen ka.
Okay. Ayun guys. So, depende rin, I guess, no, talaga kung anong status mo.
I mean, one more thing, I guess, is eligible ka ba to get a TRP? Halimbawa, out of status ka na, di ba? Alam naman natin na hindi ka pwede mag-apply from visitor to work permit. Pero, si Renz, for example, I know that he does a lot of work in the area na, halimbawa na out of status yung isang tao, nakakuha ng LMIA, they restore them, but not restoration per se, kasi 90 days yun, di ba? They get them back into status by way of a TRP with an LMIA. So yun, good faith efforts, di ba? Pwedeng ganun kasi ang mangyari. Meron din mga situation na iba, abandoned or abruptly interrupted sponsorships. Halimbawa, sinasponsor ka na or in the process of getting sponsored by a Canadian spouse. Tapos domestic abuse. Alam mo, binubugbog ka. Tapos may anak kayo. Meron po tayong open work permit not just for vulnerable workers, Ina. Siguro another topic for another discussion. Meron tayong open work permit for or TRP for victims of domestic abuse.
Iba pa yun, ha?
Okay. Iba pa yun. Bukod pa siya sa VOWP, meron din for victims of domestic abuse. And actually, we were recently successful in getting that type of TRP and work permit, and urgent nilang pinaprocess to, by the way. Tapos itong TRP and work permit na ito, pwede itong maging eventual basis for your HNC. So, yun nga. So, there may be solutions depending on the situation of the person talaga.
Alright. Definitely, kung kukuha kayo ng tulong or assistance, again, dapat maalam kung paano nila ipaglalaban at patutunayan ang inyong pag-stay, diba? Kung bakit kayo dapat maging PR, no, through agency.
Right.
Anyway, okay. So, dito na muna tayo magtatapos. I hope that clarified things, especially for those who might be thinking about trying applying sa HNC program. Dito muna tayo magtatapos. Thank you as always, Lou. And yeah, we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!